Back to Ezra-Nehemiah. Ezra, in some of these images of restoration, Ezra is a brand new Moses of sorts. The two books are generally sort of an exodus out of slavery back into the promised land, so out of exile back into the promised land, in the same kind of way Exodus was an emergence of Israel out of Egypt. In the same kind of way that Deuteronomy records, this is an unprecedented act in the Exodus. There's also this very unconventional release of the people in favor with Cyrus. I think that's why so much is made of Cyrus releasing them in some very real way. The two books are the March to Jerusalem, similar to Exodus. They depart at the beginning of the new year in Exodus chapter 7. They're delayed by water in Ezra 8. I said Exodus chapter 7, Ezra chapter 7. They're led by priesthood in Ezra 8. There's a celebration of the Feast of Booths, which is a feast commemorating the Exodus March. The last person to celebrate this feast canonically was Joshua, son of Nun, and Nun. And the festival's primary activity is consistent with what you've seen already in these books, which is a detailed reading and explanation of the Torah. And so these kind of images are obvious. I think it's a kind of thing that we're used to seeing in film when we see images. So we see images of, for example, I'm just off the top of my head here, so this might end up being stupid. So if you've ever seen "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," then you get finally, kind of all the way through that this is the Iliad and the Odyssey, kind of replayed. But if you've never read the Iliad and the Odyssey, you wouldn't know that. It's just a really good story with really great music and great acting. George Clooney is just absolutely exceptional. But if you've read the Iliad and the Odyssey, then at some point you're going through this and you're listening to it and you go, okay, I get this. The sirens, the one-eyed, Bible salesman, crazy one-eyed Bible salesman, as the Cyclops, bloodthirsty guy, that kind of thing. It all begins to make sense because of imagery. The imagery is there, so it's not a one-to-one. So you have to look, and you've got to have eyes to see, ears to hear. But as you see it, it becomes very obvious that was the intention of the producers. In the same kind of way, when you read Ezra, if you're looking for one-to-one sort of analogies, then that's not the case. But if you're looking for echoes and illusions and powerful images that are there to provoke memories of Exodus, then that's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about Ezra as a new Moses. It might be more accurate to say maybe Ezra-Nehemiah is portrayed partially as a new Exodus by virtue of the fact that there seems to be something other than just simply landing back in the land that has to happen in order for them to genuinely be returned. And so the exiles are brought out in Ezra 1, just like in Ezra 3 and 33. Their contributions to the returnees and the spoiling of the Egyptians, as well as the contributions that are granted from Persia. The return of the temple vessels. Ezra is from the line of Aaron, Moses' brother, and there is a reading explanation of the law to the people, in the same way that Deuteronomy functions sermonically as explication and elaboration of previous law codes in Exodus. This doesn't seem to be, though, the return in the same way that the prophets talk about it. The prophets' eschatological return is significant. It's got stickiness to it. It stays around. It's durable. Zerubbabel here, the Davidic king, it's an exciting figure, an exciting guy, but he just kind of disappears. We never see him again. Opposition in Ezra 4-6 and Nehemiah 4-6 is repelled, but certainly not crushed. There's no rest given, if you will, of the image. Intermarriage in Ezra 9 through 10, like we talked about, is not so much a mandate or something that you can't marry someone of a different race, but of a different religion, and religion and race are so intricately bound that it's impossible to, except in the most naive of circumstances, marry someone outside of your own race, or in the event that the person of that other race says, like Ruth does, where you go, I will go, and where you lie, I will lie. Will your people be my people, your God, my God? That kind of overt, conversion makes that obvious and okay. But the embrace of someone from another race always, typically is the embrace also of their religion, and that was the problem in Ezra 9 through 10. Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi's messages don't seem to comport with this return either. Haggai is talking about an eschatological temple, but this isn't it. Zechariah is talking about a renewal and restoration of the land, but this doesn't seem to be it. And Malachi is talking about a group of people that may or may not fit the bill, or more likely rather, and do not fit the bill for this repentant crowd that's supposed to be defined by Torah fidelity. Daniel chapter 9 suggests that the latter days are quite a bit away. That there will be one like the Son of Man, and to come there will be an end time judgment, and those and the between that seems to be the connection of the Son of Man. And in similar ways, Isaiah 65 and 66, which celebrate the realities of new Exodus and new creation and things like that, don't seem to really meet the very low criteria that we were given here. Canonical order of the books, manuscript evidence, Ezra-Nehemiah should be before Esther chronologically, should be perhaps after Chronicles chronologically, and in the sense that Chronicles simply dealing with the history of Israel in the same way the Deuteronomistic historian did. However, they simply are canonically are redefined. There's a real significant sort of thematic significance to this canonical ordering. I'm not saying so. If your grandmother has a chronological study Bible, great. Don't take it from her. But chronology is a modern hang-up. Chronology is not so much an ancient hang-up. And so if you want to read the Bible with some sense of connectivity that a New Testament writer would have read it with, then read it canonically, not chronologically. Don't be so concerned about chronology, but be concerned about canon. Now, when I say don't be concerned about chronology, I'm not saying don't be concerned about history. History is still history in canonical order. It doesn't have to be in chronological order to be history. And so read it in canonical order. So, for example, here you've got Esther through Daniel, with the emphasis sort of on this new Joseph figure who seems to do nothing wrong, seems to rise up through the ranks in a foreign empire, suffer unjust accusation. Ezra-Nehemiah is provides a new Moses type figure, and yet with a very similar outcome as the old Moses. Still a group of people who are not marked by or characterized by covenant fidelity. And then Chronicles follows up with this eyes wide open end to the Hebrew Bible, where the writer is fully expecting another king, a king to come. And given the fact that this is after Ezra-Nehemiah, one has to conclude that the chronicler anyway was not anticipating that this was Zerubbabel, but that this was another Davidic king on the horizon. As a Christian, it's very compelling to see this end like this. Thus says King Cyrus of Persia, the Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. He has charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is Judah. Whoever is among you, of all of his people, may the Lord God be with him. Let him go up. This idea is it's really interesting that this ends Chronicles in some very real way, and ends the Hebrew Bible this way, with eyes wide open to one who would come to build a house for God at Jerusalem, which is characteristically rooted in 2 Samuel 7 as the son of David. And then you cross over into Matthew, and Jesus is described immediately as the son of Abraham, the son of David. And so new Joseph, new Moses, new David, all begin to converge on this one individual there in the New Testament, and that seems to be where those connections find their fruition.